It's grey rather than gay Paris at this time of year. But even in the depths of this bleak weather, the city's charms catch and hold the eye. Of all the tourist destinations in the world, Paris has become the clear first choice. It must at times be galling for the French, watching idle foreigners at play while they themselves head off for another day's work at the office.
In 1792, this square was equipped with a guillotine.
But change is coming. Visitors, bring your knitting, because starting this year there's another revolution stirring on the streets of Paris. The French have always clung to their Frenchness, determined to do things their own way. Now, as the world follows the American model and globalises, working longer hours, the French are once again standing out from the crowd. It's a country that takes its politics seriously, its work lightly, and its own unique sense of the priorities of life as being entirely appropriate.
Where the elected deputies meet to pass laws and keep an eye on the budget.
While most governments around the world are exhorting their people to work harder, here in the National Assembly, the French government are actually making it a crime to work too much. When socialist leader Lionel Jospin stood for Prime Minister, he was widely expected to lose. So his last-minute pledge to introduce the 35-hour week was seen as pie in the sky, a sop to his Green and Communist allies. Even when he won, no one thought it would happen.
Depuis juin 97, baisse du chômage sans précédent, vous le savez, tant par son ampleur que par sa durée.
Enter Martine Aubry, a smart, stern politician many regard as the most powerful woman in France. She took the employment portfolio. She also took on the 35-hour week with a passion.
Moi, ce qui m'intéresse, c'est de voir que ceux qui sont déjà passés à 35 heures se déclarent satisfaits.
Some work too hard, some not at all. Unemployment was nudging 13% when the socialists took office. And the theory behind the 35-hour week is that if those with jobs are forced to work less, those without jobs will be hired, with a healthy government subsidy paid to the boss for each fresh employee taken on. But does this theory make economic sense?
No, it doesn't. If we take it at face value, the reform is trying to suggest that the economy is a fixed cake, that we all need to share out more equitably and everybody will be richer. And that is quite blatantly not the case.
Marie Owens-Thompson is Vice President of Merrill Lynch Paris. And she believes it's neither economics nor humanitarianism but politics that is behind this bold move by Prime Minister Jospin.
I see it as Jospin having to pay off his coalition partners with the 35-hour week, and in return he gets a freer hand on issues such as privatization or tax policy.
What makes it all just possible is that France is currently booming. Productivity is up, growth is up, and consumer confidence, which has always recorded negative, is slowly turning around.
Since 1986, the French have always had negative consumer confidence. But now, all of a sudden, we're breaking into positive territory. The numbers have never been so high, and you hear it in the street. It's palpable, the change. France can afford it. France is the fourth largest economy in the world, the second largest economy in Euroland, and we can
afford... And the largest growing in Europe, yes.
And one of the fastest growing in Europe, and we can afford giving some of that wealth back to people.
You would expect the people, the workers, to be delighted at their good fortune. The same pay, fewer hours. But the attitude to the 35 heures is divided.
C'est bien?
C'est bien?
C'est bien?
Oui.
Moi, ça serait bien, oui.
Ils disent toujours, ils vont payer, mais non. Faut pas croire que c'est mensonge, c'est de la bêtise. Vous croyez qu'un patron va vous payer la même chose si vous faites moins d'heures? Mais non, c'est pas vrai. Soyons réalistes.
Vous voulez vraiment que je vous le dise?
Oui.
Véritable connerie.
But the government is determined to police the new law. In true French style, the state has created the Department of Work Police to catch and punish overperformers.
Code du travail.
Officer Karen Duquesnoy carries out her sleuthing from this overloaded desk, but her colleagues in the field can turn up anywhere.
Voilà.
Sometimes my colleagues wait behind the building to see if there are people going out after 8 o'clock.
But sometimes they actually wait outside the building. They hide.
Yeah, sometimes it's there is no other way.
And if you are caught working too hard,
the boss will be in action in front of the judge to be punished.
And has that happened? Have bosses actually been sent to jail?
Yeah.
In the heart of the wine district of Bordeaux is the 300-year-old estate of Lionel. Its grounds still strewn with trees felled by the wild Christmas storms. But the precious vines survived, providing full-time employment for 5 workers. In the quiet, chilly months, there's scarcely enough work for one. That one, Francois, has been here 30 years and couldn't believe his ears when told he'd be working a 35-hour week.
Moi, personnellement, je croyais aussi que ça allait devenir un peu catastrophique. Mais finalement, on a fait déjà depuis un an, ça a bien marché.
Quand je suis né sur cette exploitation, j'ai vu fonctionner tous ces appareils.
Jean-Pierre Subi grew up on this estate in the days of horses and hand presses. The arrival of tractors and harvesters brought tremendous productivity gains, gains which this vigneron, for one, believes should be shared with his workers in the form of reduced hours.
De la mécanisation, je tenais absolument à ce que ce soit mon entreprise viticole qui soit la première en France à réaliser ce contrat des 35 heures.
And you're proud of that?
Ah, j'en suis très fier. Parce que je pense que c'est l'origine d'un mouvement qui sera beaucoup plus important et qui ira, dans les années qui viennent, vers les 35 heures, non seulement en France, mais dans tous les pays, d'Europe d'abord et d'ailleurs ensuite. Donc c'est dans ces cuves ici que tout le...
The world may not yet be quite ready for the egalitarian ideals of Patron Subi. Certainly his fellow vignerons are not rushing to follow his example.
Toutes les parties du monde.
But the pursuit of profit is, of course, what makes the industrial world go round. For the French capitalist class, it's this new law which is the true horror.
Of course, these 35 hours will be bad for the French economy.
How bad?
Very bad.
In this factory, we produce fabrics for upholstery, curtains, bed covering.
Guillaume Sarkozy is the boss of a textile company producing high-quality fabrics. He's a big, competitive exporter and believes this law strikes at the heart of his business.
Tomorrow, the cost of the people working in my factory will increase more or less 11%. More or less. Then the competitivity of my product will decline. And then maybe I will sell less. I don't understand.
Will you be hiring any extra staff?
No. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. I can't imagine to hire some people because a law is voted on the parliament. What's this country? It's worse than the Soviet system. It's unbelievable. No, of course not.
Monsieur Sarkozy's factory in northern France currently employs 120 people, with an annual turnover of around $15 million. It will survive the law, he says, but resents being told by the government how to run his own business.
Government think good for you. That's a very old way to think.
Like a nursemaid or a nanny. It looks after.
Yeah, we are much more clever than you. We know better for you. We know what is good for you. And please shut up.
It's a pretty potent law which can send both ends of the same industry, truck owners and their drivers, out to the barricades in separate protests. First it was the bosses, striking over the estimated 11% hike in costs. Then the truckies themselves went on strike, claiming that this complex legislation would in fact undermine many of their painstakingly acquired privileges, which, frankly, it probably will.
If you go out to the French population today and say, we need to cut social charges, the French will interpret that as their benefits being attacked. If you say, we need to introduce more labor market flexibility, the French will interpret that as greater job insecurity. And it will just not go down.
So basically the 35-hour week is the chocolate coating around that pill.
Yes, and it's a little bit distasteful in the sense that there's an element of deception here.
Frankly, how hard do the French actually work?
I think that in the private sector people work very hard, but in the public sector there's a common joke in France about how the 35-hour week is really going to be tough on people in the public sector because they're going to have to go from 30 to 35 hours.
Revolutions rarely have a clear start date, but this one does. After years of planning and government promises, the 35-hour week is now here and will be extended over the next few years. France's 35-hour week is one country's stand against economic and social globalization. And now the experiment is launched, where it goes and what happens next will have relevance far beyond France.